Hello, everyone. I hope you're all having an amazing day and are making time for reading. So, today we're going to explore how Jessica Johns captures the emotional horror of Canadian extractivism using the Algonquin folklore Wheetigo or Wendigo. I spent several days reading the horror novel Bad Cree by Jessica Johns, and after reading this horror novel, I understand why it is important for Jessica Johns to use the Wheetigo to illustrate the horrors of Canadian extractivism. So originating from the Algonquin folklore, the Wheetigo or Wendigo is an evil spirit that is cannibalistic, greedy, and destructive in nature. And in Ojibwe, Eastern Cree, and West Main Swami Cree, to name a few, Wheetigos are physically described to be giants that are many times larger than humans and can grow to the size of whatever they have eaten. This evil spirit is known to be gluttonous, as they are never satisfied with consuming only one person. Most importantly, the Wheetigo is a destroyer of nature. The reason I place emphasis on the Wheetigo being a destroyer of nature is because Jessica Johns gives the reader an understanding of what caused Wheetigo to take form in the community. Specifically, Jessica Johns states, it sounds like the Wheetigo sighting started happening about 10 years ago, the same time as the oil boom. Sightings by the community are rare. Whoever and whatever it was feeding on was most likely situated in the camps or oil companies. I think about the toxic environment in the oil patch, the high depression rate among people based in the camps for weeks and months on end, working every day. The way the industry changes men into worse men, the spike in missing indigenous women, girls, and two-spirit people with the rise of the industry. Unfortunately, the toxic implications of oil camps or oil companies is not fictional or a myth. So the ecocide of the northeastern Alberta region. So in the northeastern Alberta region is located the Athabasca oil sands. The Athabasca oil sands are rich in bitumen. What is bitumen? So bitumen is a form of petroleum that is heavy and highly viscous. However, the extraction of this natural resource is catastrophic to the environment. According to the organization and Ecocide, the extraction of the oil sands have excessively damaging outcomes if proposed expansion proceeds. Tar sand extraction will result in the loss of tracts of boreal forest and peat bogs of a territory the size of England. What makes this even more frightening is that Canada's oil output and production is set to increase and rank Canada as a major producer of crude oil, exceeding our neighbors, namely the United States of America. So, how does this affect the Indigenous communities? According to the article The Deep Toll of Tar Sands on Canada's Indigenous People by Nicholas Kuznets and published in the nonprofit digital magazine Undark, which I highly recommend you read, he states, today that same land near her Indigenous community is Fort McKay, is surrounded by mines that have swallowed an area larger than New York City, stripping away boreal forest and muskeg and rerouting waterways. Oil and gas companies like ExxonMobil, the Canadian giant Suncor, have transformed Alberta's tar sands, also known as tar sands, also called oil sands, into one of the world's largest industrial developments. They have built spalling waste ponds that leach heavy metals into groundwater and processing plants that spew nitrogen and sulfur oxides into the air, sending a sour stench for miles. Despite those agreements, the mine's ecological impacts are so vast and so deep that other Indigenous people here say that the industry has challenged their very existence, even as it has provided jobs and revenue to Native businesses and communities. The basis of our Indigenous culture is on the land, said Lom Court, who is 58. In addition to this, Nicholas Kuznets even places emphasis on the environmental impact on the extraction of Albertan oil sands. Specifically, Nicholas writes that the mines guzzles vast quantities of water, with nearly 58 billion gallons drawn from the region's rivers, lakes, and aquifers in 2019, according to government figures. When all that water comes out the other end, it is so heavily laced with hydrocarbons, naphthenic acids, I cannot pronounce it, please forgive me, and carcinogenic heavy metals that it cannot be released where it came from. Instead, oil companies have been collecting these acutely toxic tailings in waste ponds, some of which routinely leak their contents into groundwater. So, unfortunately, these waste ponds affect the migration and sustenance of animals, in addition to increasing the risk of cancer for those living in Albertan communities as a result of these carcinogenic heavy metals entering the groundwater. So, so the article continues to go on about, not go on, but continues to give more details about how the Albertan oil sands are affected indigenous communities. And if you want to learn more about the Albertan tar sands and the impact it has on the environment and indigenous communities, I encourage you to read the article, The Deep Toll of Tar Sands on Canada's Indigenous People by Nicholas Kuznets. I've included the link to the article in the description below. Now let's get back to the book Bad Cree by Jessica Johns. So instead of focusing on the emotional impact oil companies and camps have on our burdened communities, Jessica Johns uses the Wheetigo to symbolize and represent the psychological traumas that oil extraction has on indigenous communities. So similar to the high depression rate of people working in the oil camps, the Wheetigo causes Mackenzie to show symptoms of depression, like loss of interest in activities and changes in sleep and feelings. Throughout the book, we have seen instances of this. Specifically, Mackenzie limits her sleep time. For example, Mackenzie states, I find out that dreams happen in REM sleep cycle. So if I always wake up before REM, I won't dream. This is significant because it illustrates the measures taken by Mackenzie to reduce her sleep and not have to encounter Wheetigo. Yeah, which is insane because we all know that in order a full night's sleep is like 7 to 8 hours, 7 to 9 hours. Some people are productive on 6 hours of sleep. Me personally, I need a good 7 hours of sleep to feel productive the next day. So if she's limiting her sleep, we can only imagine the zombie-like state she's in every single day and the toll it can take on her health. So also the same is seen when the narrator Mackenzie wants to isolate away from her family. So this is another symptom of depression that she has shown throughout the book, in the novel. So for example, Mackenzie states, I try to weasel out of coming, but no one was having any of my excuses. In the end, I figured being out would help me stay awake longer anyways. So, despite Mackenzie's family placing effort in doing activities with her, she's not interested. Again, this illustrates the depressive episodes caused by the Wheetigo and represents the emotional trauma faced by Indigenous families as a result of the exploitation and ecocide of their land. So, lastly, similar to the deadly chemicals released into the environment by the oil sites and camps, the Wheetigo is similar in nature. For example, similar to the carcinogenic heavy metals entering Earth's groundwater by oil companies, the toxins of the Wheetigo take shape on Tracy's body. For example, Mackenzie states, Cassidy is behind me first. Jumping up from her bed on the floor, she holds her arms back as I try to pull the death-eating mushrooms off Tracy's body, except that they are her body. So similar to the toxins of the oil fields, the Wheetigo has the ability to produce toxins that are deadly and negatively impact the physiological and psychological health of its victims. So overall, these are the ways in which the author Jessica Johns captures the horrors of Canadian extractivism using the Algonquin folklore, Wheetigo or Wendigo. And after reading the book, I can definitely, if I can personally rate the book, I would give it at a 10 out of 10. The reason why I would give it a 10 out of 10 is because one, it introduced me to indigenous folklore. It's not something that is widely taught or widely known. So to kind of have an understanding of one aspect of an indigenous folklore, I think is really cool. And two, I it made me grow an appreciation for why they create these folklores, and it shows that these folklores are created to illustrate, or kind of to illustrate the present day things that are affecting their communities in mythological ways, in a mythological form. So I really appreciate Indigenous communities being able to take a present day issue and transform it into something that's as mystical and mythological. Sorry, and I don't want to say mythological because I don't want that to come across as disrespectful, but something so mystical and fanciful like a Wheetigo, to really represent whatever their community is experiencing. So that's another reason why. Another reason why I love this book is because I love that we were able to see how vulnerable Mackenzie is through it all, and having and really understanding how she's able to get through this tough moment of figuring out what is in her dreams, what is tormenting her, and really also seeing her, redevelop that relationship with her family, and to solve this and to move past this and to start a new chapter and to start anew. So overall, I love the book because it's family oriented. There's a lot of character development and character growth, and it also sheds light on the beautiful things of different cultures and indigenous cultures, specifically folklore. And it really gives us insight into these beautiful things that make up make up what makes up indigenous culture. So yeah, overall, it's a 10 out of 10 for me. I love the book. Um, yeah, would I say that it's scary? No, but again, I have a high tolerance for scary things. Um, yeah, so I wouldn't say it's a scary book, but overall, Bad Cree, amazing, and I would give it a 10 out of 10. And I'm excited to see what else she does, to be honest with you, because the messaging behind this book, despite it being a horror novel, is something that is very important. And if you're an active reader and an active learner, I really feel like you can take these things to figure out how we can apply it to our present day life, and despite it being a fictional work. So yeah, Jessica Johns is an amazing writer, and I am excited to see what she has next. Yeah. So overall, yeah, 10 out of 10. So now let's transition to the 2025 Sunburst Awards. So recently at the Sunburst Awards has announced Nayla Hopkinson as the winner of the $3,000 award for excellence in Canadian literature of the fantastic for her novel Black Heart Man. So first and foremost, I want to offer congratulations to Nayla Hopkins for winning this award. It's nice to see Black people throughout the diaspora get the recognition they deserve. And for those of you who may not know, Nayla Hopkins is a Jamaican Canadian writer that has won many awards for her literary work, and she is currently a professor for the School of Creative Writing at the University of British Columbia. Now, I haven't read the book Brave Blackheart Man yet. However, I will, and I encourage you to. I place a link to the book in the description below. Um, and yeah, once hopefully I will get the book sometime soon and do a review on it, and we can dissect the book together and see what it's all about. So, anyways, I'm looking at the time and I'm realizing that we've come to the end of the video. So I want to thank you for watching today's video. If you're interested in watching last week's video, please click here or somewhere where I put it. And also let me know what you think about Jessica John's use of the Wheetigo to allude to the modern day horror of Canadian extractivism. This is something that I would love for us to speak about more in the comment section below. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions. Um, and yeah, And I also hope you guys all have an amazing day. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe.